Over the last few years, working in provincial parks, I've watched something shift pretty dramatically. Car camping exploded. SUV builds started rolling in constantly. Teslas would glide through the gate, very quiet. Jeeps showed up with rooftop tents that looked like they were ready to climb Mount Everest, and Class B campers started appearing in numbers that made it clear this wasn't just a trend anymore. From the outside, it all looks simple. People pull in, open a door, maybe unfold something, and then it looks like freedom. But when you're around campgrounds long enough, you start noticing patterns. You hear the same conversations at check-in. You see people packing up earlier than planned, and then you see the "we're cutting this trip short" look. I'm not an SUV camper. I live in a travel trailer with my family, but being all around this type of different setups and hearing the behind the scenes frustrations, you kind of start to see what actually causes trips to unravel. It's usually not the weather. It's friction people didn't expect. So if you're trying to decide between car camping, building out an SUV, or buying a camper van, let's just talk about what I've actually seen go wrong and how to think about it before you spend a pile of money trying to fix the wrong problem. One of the most common things I heard about, especially from car campers and Tesla owners, was moisture. On paper, those setups make sense. They're roomy enough for one or two people. The climate control feels modern. It's quiet, and it feels efficient. And then morning shows up, and everything feels damp. I've seen cracked windows with shirts stuffed into the openings, blankets wedged into door seams like people were trying to insulate a submarine. There's a lot of creativity involved, but condensation isn't impressed by creativity. Two humans breathing inside a mostly sealed vehicle will create moisture. And when that warm air hits cold glass overnight, it condenses. It's not a camper van problem or an SUV problem, it's plain physics. The difference is airflow planning. When ventilation is intentional, mornings feel normal. When it's an afterthought, everything feels clammy and morale drops fast. It doesn't take much damp bedding for someone to start thinking, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Most of the time, it's not a personality flaw. It's a ventilation flaw. Another pattern I saw regularly was the quiet assumption that a parking spot that looks harmless must be harmless. When campgrounds filled up, we'd see vehicles shift into day use areas or overflow lots. From the camper's perspective, it probably felt logical. It's empty. It's quiet. It's just one night. But from a park operations perspective, it was not permitted. And if we found out someone was overnighting there, we had to move them along. Nobody enjoys that interaction. Not the camper, definitely not the staff. But policy is policy. This affects car campers, SUV builds, and camper vans equally. A stealth-looking van doesn't automatically grant stealth permission, and a quiet lot doesn't magically convert it into a campground at midnight. The fix isn't turning camping into a tactical mission. It's having a plan with backup locations, awareness of local rules, and sometimes accepting that paying for a proper site is cheaper than losing sleep over whether someone is going to knock on your window at 2 a.m. Because that knock doesn't make for a great vacation memory. SUV camping can work really well, especially for 1 or 2 people. I've seen some excellent setups where everything had a purpose and place. Transitioning from driving mode to sleeping mode took minutes, not half an hour, of reorganizing your life. I've also seen setups where people had to unload half their gear just to create enough flat space to lie down. By night 3, that starts feeling less like adventure and more like unpaid moving labor. The difference almost always comes down to layout thinking. When sleep space, storage space, and daily access items are clearly separated, the system feels calm. And when everything overlaps, every evening becomes a puzzle. Rooftop tents are another interesting solution. They solve interior crowding nicely. Sleep up top, store gear below. It does look sharp. But now you're climbing a ladder at night. You're dealing with wind, you're packing it down in the rain. It's not wrong, it's just a trade-off. Every solution solves one problem and introduces another. That's true whether you're in a compact SUV or a high-end camper van. Now, power is where expectations tend to get loud. Some people ignore it completely and hope for the best. Others buy the largest battery bank they can find because someone online said it was essential. A common misunderstanding is solar. Solar panels don't directly power your appliances. They recharge batteries, and then the batteries power your loads. That distinction matters when you're trying to run refrigeration or ambitiously air conditioning. The real question isn't which brand is best. It's how long you expected to be parked without driving or plugging in, and what you're realistically running during that time. Charging a phone and running a fan is one level. Running a 12-volt fridge changes the math. And trying to run air conditioning off-grid changes it again dramatically. Power systems become frustrating when they're built around hope instead of usage. Camper vans are often presented as the solution to all of this, and in many ways they are refined. Integrated electrical, permanent beds, standing room, storage designed by engineers instead of your Saturday afternoon. But they don't eliminate friction. They reorganize it. You're still dealing with space limits, you still manage moisture, and you still have battery capacity ceilings. Plus, you still follow parking rules. I grew up sleeping in a 1979 GMC van with my family of 4. There was a fold-down bench seat and seats that reclined fully back. There wasn't a lithium bank, there wasn't a solar array, and no influencer lighting package. But it worked. Modern Class B camper vans are a refined evolution of that idea. It has better insulation, systems, layout, but they're still bound by square footage and physics. The real decision isn't whether camper vans are impressive, but that the level of integration matches your lifestyle. Are you a solo traveler, a couple, or a family? Well, that changes all the geometry again. If there's one pattern I've consistently observed, it's this. Car camping tends to teach humility. SUV builds forces you to think about carefully and layout and organization. So, when someone has solved sleep ventilation, power planning, and packing awareness, almost any platform becomes enjoyable. When those pieces aren't thought through, upgrading vehicles rarely fixes this discomfort. It just makes the friction more expensive. Again, I live in a travel trailer because family size and long-term comfort make sense for us. It does not make it the universal answer, but it did just make it our answer. What I've learned from watching all these different setups roll through parks is that the best rig isn't the one that looks the most capable. It's the one that quietly reduces friction for how you actually travel. So, if you're researching camper vans, thinking about building out an SUV, or just testing the waters with car camping, don't just start with brands. You start with the systems. Think about airflow. Think about how fast you can switch from driving to sleeping. Think about how long you'd realistically be parked without power. And then think about where you're actually legally allowed to stop for the night. Once those foundations are clear, the vehicle choice gets much easier and much less emotional. If this is the kind of breakdown that is helpful to you, consider subscribing. I do try to approach this stuff from the systems side instead of the hype side sometimes because, well, hype is easy, but friction management is harder, and it is what actually makes this trip or trips like this better. Now, I'm genuinely curious. Are you leaning toward an SUV build, a camper van, or something else? Why don't you drop it in the comments and tell me why? Sometimes talking through the reasoning reveals more than the spec sheet ever will. We'll see you in the next one.